Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a Dragonfly in Amber update video with the read along and just kind of how it's going. So yeah, I'm excited to dive into that. Here we go. Today is Saturday, July 17th. I am on page 549 of just over 900 pages. So I'm a little over halfway. It's the 17th, like I said. The last day to read is the 25th, so I have about a week from today to finish. I'll definitely finish in time. I was busy with some social stuff and family stuff, but I'm now not busy. That's kind of how I find summer goes, right? You're getting social, you're doing stuff, and then you're not. And so yeah, I have the next week and a half, really very few plans. So I'll definitely finish this book and I'll have a chance to start book 3, Voyager, and then I'm going to a cottage. So yeah, hopefully I'll have lots of time to read at the cottage, but there'll be other things on anyway. Okay, kind of a digression, doesn't matter. Talking about Dragonfly in Amber. I have found it easy to read. I have the time to read, which is great. You'll hear later on in the video how reading each section kind of went. So I'll talk a little bit about that later in the video. This week was not very busy. The week before, the first week of the Dragonfly and Amber read along was very busy. So I started slow, but I'm picking up my pace as we go and as my schedule kind of lightens up. So that has been really good. I'm definitely have lots of time to read right now, which is great. In terms of how I'm enjoying the reading, I am enjoying it. I wouldn't do it if I didn't like it. Yeah, I kind of only do things if I like them. So if I didn't like it, I would stop. I will say I stand by it. This is my least favorite book. I don't know. Something has to be your least favorite, even after, like, out of so many things that are great, something has to be the least favorite, and this book is it. I just finished section, I'll get into that later. I think it's my least favorite because of what I said in an earlier video. The political stuff, the France stuff, the kind of, machinations that are going on with political intrigues and plots. I just find that not interesting. I just don't find it super interesting. So I'm always interested in Claire and Jamie. I'm interested in them. I'm interested in what's going on with them. I'm interested in how they kind of solve problems and how their moral compass kind of guides their actions or doesn't guide their actions, or when they, violate their personal codes. And I'm interested in that. I'm not super interested in the French court and the king and meeting so-and-so and going to dinner with such and such. That part I find kind of boring. So take that for what it is. I'm still enjoying the book. Those parts I don't get excited about reading, so I just kind of like, okay, get through it, get on to the next thing. The other thing is, as readers of this book will know, it has some absolutely heartbreaking parts. Absolutely heartbreaking. So those are tough to read. I just got through one. Difficult. Very difficult to read. And I don't know about you, but I'm a very emotional reader. I'm the kind of person, I've given up on books. I have, cried while I'm reading all the time. Gotten really angry and worked up for sure. My family members can attest to that I can get a little much if I read something that's a little much. It's just how I am. So yeah, so reading some parts of this, I'll talk about it later in the video when I'm talking about that part. Definitely emotional. But yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. I'm doing pretty well. I think that I will film one more video at least about Dragonfly and Amber, and it might just be the last 3 sections and my final thoughts, or maybe I'll separate those into 2 different videos, the last 3 sections and then my final thoughts, and then heading into Voyager. That might be a good way to do it too. So yeah, keep watching for how I thought the whole book went and all my different impressions. So here's just to check in on Dragonfly and Amber. I almost said another book title further on, but no, I'm reading Dragonfly and Amber. I have not had a lot of time to read. There was a big event this weekend, very exciting. I had an amazing time, but I was out of town from early Friday morning until Sunday afternoon, and then I just totally crashed and got nothing done. And now we have a bunch of stuff happening at the house, so busy. But before I left, I had a long appointment getting my eyelashes done. So never had them done before, and she said to bring my headphones. And I was like, okay, kind of nervous. But I did, and before I quit my Audible subscription, which I did a couple of months ago, I downloaded all the Outlander books because I thought I might want them, and it came in handy. I got through all of chapter 11 and partway through chapter 12. So it was really good. It was in the France times, some meeting Master Raymond, some just Claire being pregnant and living in that time. So it was really good. I'll give more of an update later on. Tonight, I think I'll go back to the paper version. I gotta find my spot that I was at there. And yeah, should be good. Hey guys, I just wanted to jump on here and do another update for my Dragonfly and Amber reread. So I just finished chapters like 11, 12, 13-ish. I'm a little ahead of that, but that's the part that I want to talk about. So I am really enjoying this reread. One of the things that I'm most enjoying about it is seeing more of Jamie. Obviously, we saw a lot of him in Outlander, but a lot of the time was also taken up by Claire thinking about Frank and kind of reminiscing about that relationship. And while Frank's still part of this book, you really see their marriage kind of developing. So the scene that really speaks to that for me was the part where Claire wants to go volunteer or work as kind of a nurse at the Hospital of Angels. I'm not going to try to say it the French way because I have some good friends who are bilingual, and it would just be embarrassing for me. So anyway, but that part where she wants to go there and she kind of mentions to Jamie, and Jamie's response is, or she says, I want to be useful. I want to feel useful. I want to have purpose, which is something that I can totally relate to. Like, that's part of why I'm doing this challenge, is because I need to feel like I have like a mission and something to accomplish and whatever. And Jamie's response initially is like, isn't being a wife, like, isn't that your purpose? Like, is that not enough for you? And they had this kind of really cool negotiation. And he gives in. He says, okay, you can go, but it's in a rough part of town. You have to take Fergus and Murda, and here kind of, you can go, but like here's what I need from you in order to do that. And that I just really enjoyed reading that part. It really spoke to me, like how much they've changed since the first book, even though it wasn't that long ago. It was like a 4-month time period, but he has really grown as a man and as a husband, and really changed his perspective of how he sees Claire and how he thinks that she should behave, and how their relationship works and the dynamics at play in their marriage. So that part, really fun to read. Really, like, I just loved it. And it made me think of future books, and again, how he kind of accepts her for who she is, even though she's not like any other woman he's ever encountered, because she's from the future, right? And she also learns to accept Jamie for how he is. And so she brings this proposal to him, and she's pretty insistent on her own way and doing what she wants. But she's also respectful of, like, it's a partnership. So that part was really fun for me to read. Really fun. And I'm hoping that I keep thinking about that as I keep reading, and in future books, I keep thinking about it. I think that I will, because I really like it. The other part that I wanted to talk about were just a couple of key characters who we meet. So we meet Fergus. Oh my goodness. Child Fergus, little Fergus in this book. Really, like, such a sympathetic character. I really feel for Fergus. not much of his personality shows through. He doesn't have too many big moments. He's got one big moment where he feels that he's kind of failed Claire and Jamie, and he's so desperate for their love and support. So yeah, I thought that was really nice. Oh, Cookie's here. And then we also meet Mary Hawkins and Alex Randall. And the meeting with Alex Randall is a really pivotal point of the book because Claire really thinks, first she kind of thinks it's Frank, which is so stupid. But then, that's kind of mean. But then she kind of thinks that it's Blackjack Randall, but she thinks he's dead. So she's really confused. And then it turns out to be Alex, his younger brother. And so that's just an interesting meeting. And they kind of cross paths a couple times. And then she also meets Mary Hawkins. And she knows the name Mary Hawkins, but she can't think of why. It's such a plain, normal name. And then she remembers she is supposed to marry Blackjack Randall and have Frank's great-great-grandfather or something in order for Frank to live. But she thinks Blackjack Randall is dead, but Mary is alive. So you can kind of see Claire just thinking it over and kind of not coming to any moves yet in the book, but just kind of wondering. And she kind of takes Mary under her wing in a really, really sweet way. There's a really hilarious scene, like absolutely hilarious scene, in which Mary is kind of talking about how she could never marry a Frenchman because, Frenchmen, like, they do disgusting things. And Claire's like, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? And Mary starts talking about, like, sex. And she just assumes that it's only Frenchmen that do that. No other man does that, just Frenchmen. And Claire kind of says, okay, we should have a little talk. And it's really funny. And this is another common theme I've noticed in the Outlander books, in the first book and in this book. There are scenes where some of the main characters have to kind of do the facts of life talk with the younger character. And it's always really funny. It's like a lighthearted moment. And yeah, it was really well done. So I really enjoyed all of that. The last part of this section that I want to talk about is another character, I guess we meet. I consider him a character, maybe other people don't, is Mother Hildegard's dog, Bouton. And he is this dog that works at the hospital. He can sniff out illnesses. It's very cool. I have heard of this before with animals being able to sense, like, if you're prone to seizures, you can have a service dog or a service animal that knows if you're going to have a seizure and can go for help or can prompt you to take your medication. Or sometimes there's stories of animals in hospitals being able to tell, like, oh, that patient has cancer, and they can sniff out where the cancer is, or they know to avoid that spot or go to that spot for cuddles. And so Bouton is kind of like that. And I've heard that Diana Gabaldon is an animal lover. I think you can tell in the stories, and definitely a dog person. So yeah, I really wanted to talk about Bouton because I quite like him. And he and Jamie have this really hilarious encounter where Bouton does not like Jamie and won't let him, like, in the hospital. And Jamie has to kind of persuade him, and Claire's listening to Jamie talk to the dog, and it's just hilarious. So yeah, really relatable moments. Yeah, so I'm really enjoying this section. I'm in the middle of section 2. We're still in France, but it's kind of a good section, other than the political stuff. But it's a really good section because you meet lots of cool people who come to play a big part later on. So yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. Hey guys, I wanted to just film a quick update, check in about Dragonfly and Amber. So I think I said this already, but if I didn't, I'll say it again now. I saw this on another YouTube channel, which I'll reference later because I forget the name, that she does it, and she just films like a short segment every time she finishes a big section or anytime there's something she wants to talk about. So yeah, I thought I'd try it. Not loving it so far. It feels a little awkward because then I feel like I can't talk about the rest of the book, but whatever. I'm just gonna try it and see what happens. Maybe I'll never even publish this, but yeah, we'll see. Okay, so yeah, like I was saying, I wanted to just do a check-in about Dragonfly and Amber. I just finished part 2. which is cool. And now I'm on part 3. So I'm at page 314. So yeah, I would say I read 3 chapters over the last couple of days. 14, 15, 16. Sorry, a bug just landed on my head, or my hand, something like that. So yeah, so I finished the last 3 chapters, 14, 15, 16. They were really good. One was called Deceptions. One was called The Nature of Sulfur. Really cool. We got more information about Master Raymond. So I really enjoyed that section. It was so weird. He takes Claire to like the secret room because she accuses him of having sold the bitter cascara to someone, she doesn't know who, to poison her. And he kind of makes the point of like, well, it could be worse. Like, I could have sold them actual poison. I sold them this stuff that would just like make you sick. And he gives her like this jewel that will change color if she's ever exposed to poison. And it's clear that they're friends. And it's interesting that he kind of had to take this tactic of selling something that would harm her, like she was violently ill, but that ultimately caused no lasting damage. And it was just really cool to meet Master Raymond. And in the scene, he also meets Jamie, which I thought was really cool. He has like an aversion to Jamie, like doesn't want to touch him. When he's talking to Claire, he's kind of funny. When he's talking to Jamie, he's like really quiet, like looking down, looking away, not making eye contact. So it's a marked difference. And I think that will come up later in the book again about why that is. But it was very interesting to read that first bit. We also met Mother Hildegard in this section, who I'll talk about now too. It's funny, I think she describes Master Raymond and Mother Hildegard as both very unattractive people, which I thought was funny. Like, is that just Claire's voice? Like, is she just kind of like that? Or is it just true storytelling? Like, I don't know. I thought that was interesting. She describes Master Raymond as a frog or a toad-like person. And Mother Hildegard, I thought she described as very big, like very tall woman. Anyway, it's very interesting. I really like Mother Hildegard. I wish we got more with her, but I don't think she's a big part of the rest of the book. And then she's not a character that we meet again. So interesting. As always, wish we had more. But yeah, this section was really good. When I finished part 3, I thought we were going to go back forward in time, back with Roger, Brianna, and Claire in the future, but we don't actually. We're still in Paris. So I'm nervous to see, because I think I know what's coming up, but it'll still be very interesting. I am still enjoying reading. I am reading very slowly. It is already the 14th. I am only on, page 300 or so. I have quite a chunk left to go. I'm almost halfway, I guess. So that's a good way of thinking about it. So yeah, anyway, thanks for this check-in, and I will check in again later when I've read more. Hey everyone, I just wanted to put a little bit of a trigger warning in here. In this book, there are some really big issues that are confronted. If that's not your thing, if you can't handle that right now, I totally understand, and I hope all is well with you. There is a rape, and there is the 2 main characters lose a baby. So yeah, if that's something that you're dealing with right now and you're not able to read about it or hear about it, I totally understand. You might just want to skip ahead this part. Okay, I'm filming this part about part 3 of Dragonfly and Amber. I just finished it. I finished part 3 and part 4 kind of yesterday, and I've started part 5. I was doing those check-ins after I finished each section, but I forgot to do it for section 3, and so I just decided to combine section 3 and 4 and kind of film them now, and then just put the whole video together. So section 3 is the attack on Mary Hawkins and Claire, where, it's just horrible. I feel so badly for Mary Hawkins. It's a big scene. In the show, it's a big scene. It, to me, it really solidifies kind of the friendship and the almost parental relationship that Claire has with Mary, where she feels responsible for her, she takes care of her, she educates her, she helps her, and she's a friend, but I really think she's more than a friend because, she's kind of that older woman voice of wisdom for Mary, and really takes her under her wing, which I really appreciated. So while that part was really difficult to read, I really enjoyed reading Claire's perspective on it, how she goes kind of cold and like, okay, I have to remember what their voice is like. I have to remember, that mark on the man's hand. I have to remember this. I have to remember this because I'm going to come after these people. So I really appreciated that part, and I really appreciated the dynamic between her and Mary. The other big part that happens in part 3 is the return of Black Jack Randall. So finally he's back. I kind of teased it earlier, and the book kind of teased it earlier with the return of his brother. But now Black Jack Randall is officially back. He and Jamie meet. He sees Claire. He initially assumes that Jamie is dead when he sees Claire, which I thought was really interesting because Claire and Jamie also thought he was dead. So all 3 characters operating under this mistaken assumption that the other characters are gone, and they're not. They're still alive. And now here they are all meeting again and having to kind of work that out. So Claire bargains with Jamie not to kill Jack Randall, not to challenge him to anything. And you can tell it's a huge negotiation in their relationship. And she's doing it to save Frank, which doesn't really seem to reassure Jamie too much. But he says yes. And then later in the book, in part 4, Jack Randall attacks Fergus, kind of their foster son, a character I talked about a little bit earlier on, and Jamie just can't handle it. Challenges Jack Randall to a duel, which is illegal, and that is a big deal. I think the first couple times I read this book, I didn't understand like why that was such a big deal, but it's a huge deal. It's really important. He's caught, he's imprisoned in the Bastille, which is kind of cool because I've been to Paris and I've kind of heard of these places and seen some of them. So that was kind of neat. And then Claire, of course, miscarries or delivers her baby and it's stillborn. And it's just horrible, just awful. You just feel so badly for Claire. And she's so angry at Jamie. I think that was the part that I found most interesting about this chapter is she doesn't understand that Fergus was attacked. She doesn't know that. She just knows that Jamie challenged Jack Randall after he promised he would not. So he broke his word. That's kind of how she sees it. And yeah, it's just awful. Obviously, trigger warning if that's something that I should have said that earlier. I will edit this to say it earlier. If that's a personal thing for you, my heart goes out to you. That's really awful. Anyway, the interesting part of the book and kind of where we get back into the time travel or the mystical elements is as she's attempting to recover in the same hospital she was working in with Mother Hildegard and, kind of the nuns at the hospital taking care of her. She's not doing well, and she knows she's not doing well. She has this horrible fever, and the nuns are not sure she's going to make it. They're kind of, resigned for the worst. And Master Raymond comes. He's kicked out by the nuns. He sneaks back in, and the description in the book is he's a healer. He's kind of this mystical guy, and he heals her, and she can see this blue light like over her body, in her body, healing her. And then later in the book, Master Raymond leaves. He's not welcome there in a house of God because people think that he's kind of some sort of sorcerer, and maybe he is with this blue light stuff, right? And Claire later tries it on her own. She has a headache and she's kind of sitting there, and it seems like it's almost like meditation or some sort of you know, turning inwards is how she describes it. It was very interesting to read. So I really like that part. I'm very intrigued by Master Raymond. I really hope that we get a book about him or a story about him or something like that. I'm one of those fans that really wants that. So please, let's, Diana Gabaldon, please make that happen. That would make me so happy, and so many other fans so happy. So they have to leave Paris. Claire manages to get Jamie out of prison. Part of the condition is that they have to leave, you know, so they do. And in the show, Paris is kind of seen as a total failure. I don't think it's 100% the same spirit in the book, but it's not a success. Obviously, Claire and Jamie are recovering from the loss of their child. They're recovering. I think their marriage needs to heal a little bit because they both feel that the other has kind of betrayed some of the foundational elements, right? Like Claire thinks Jamie didn't keep his word, and she's very angry, like very angry. And Claire tries to withhold the fact that she had to kind of have a sexual encounter. I wouldn't even call it sleeping with. I would call it a sexual encounter with the King of France in the book in order to get Jamie out. And she thinks he'll be really mad, because of course he'll be really mad. So she tries to just kind of pretend it didn't happen. And he sees that as, you know, lying or not being honest. And yeah, I mean, they work it out, but I think that they are leaving Paris thinking, you know, we need to heal, we need to recover. So yeah, so I'm very excited about part 5. They go back to Scotland. He has, he's no longer an outlaw in Scotland. That was part of the deal of getting out of the Bastille. So it seems like things are looking up. And of course I've read the book, so they're not, but I'll save that for another video. So yeah, very hard to read, very emotional read. But that's okay. That's why I read books. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking with me through this longish video about my Dragonfly and Amber read along. I really appreciate it. Up next, I'm gonna do another video about this book just to finish it off, and as I prepare to read book 3, Voyager, which I'm excited about. And then I think I'm gonna do a garden update video as well, because oh my gosh, some of these plants have just exploded. So that will be very interesting. So look for that next week, later in the next couple of days, sometime around then. And thank you to the channel that I'm following, The Literary Apothecary. She's the one that I got the idea to do those like short check-in videos. I think I'm gonna try it one more time. Maybe it just is something that I need to be practiced at. But yeah, I appreciated the idea. She is a fellow book lover and Outlander fan. So yeah, thank you to her for kind of inspiring me with that idea. I really appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and comment on this video. I really love talking Outlander with other people, just talking books in general. Yeah, so let me know what you think. Thanks again.